And I just saw that this 7-year-old just went like this with his business within a day. He didn't overthink things. He didn't overcomplicate the entire process of how do I present and all. He just kind of went with the flow. So one book that really changed my perspective on things, and again, it's not a business oriented book, but it's this book, Sapiens, of the history of mankind.
It's one quality that every startup founder should possess.
Yeah. I think it's your ability to just take no as many times as it happens without letting it affect you.
Welcome to Startup Pod by Ideas to Impacts Hub and Binge Pods. The podcast has 6 segments. Each segment has solid takeaway for all startups who are watching the show. Hi Disha, welcome to the podcast that we have today by Startup Pod. Quickly, let's start with our first segment that we have. Actually, we have 6 segments lined up today. And the very first is the P&Ls, where we want to know your expenses and the top revenue lineup that you have for your business.
Sure. Thanks, Monica. It's always a pleasure to be at Ideas to Impacts Hub. I think it's a great place for any startup founder and the entire community. So thank you so much for having me. Now, diving straight into the topic and the segment that we are focusing on, right? So in a nutshell, what GoFig does is we aggregate and promote surplus short-dated inventory from leading FMCG brands and promote it to end consumers via green discounts and with complete transparency on the remaining shelf life of products, right?
Right.
For a business model like ours, the top cost center is creating awareness about the concept, right? The concept in itself is pretty new for a market like India. And that is where we as a team and we as a business end up spending a lot of our resources, both in terms of time, money, and education. So I think that's something at the very top of our costs, right? So marketing and consumer awareness and education. The second is definitely in terms of talent and people. So hiring the right talent and the right team members who can take forward our initial vision of mitigating waste of FMCG products, having the right skill set and bringing it to end consumers. So I think that's definitely, again, the second largest cost center.
Right.
And the third one I would say is the technology part, right? Okay. So what we are doing is unique in the sense that we are building one of the first of its kind platforms that creates visibility for such products, right?
Okay.
As of today's date, every single brand has some or the other short-dated inventory at some or the other location. But there's no central database which says, hey, this inventory is available here. How do I connect that inventory with a potential customer, right? So as we grow and as we build this business, we are also investing heavily in terms of technology to create this platform that creates visibility for end consumers, that creates ease of putting up this information for brands, right? So technology is an area where we will also be ramping up our investments going forward. Now, let me talk to you about the situation on the revenue side, right? So because we are still a young company and a young enterprise, our current revenue is very much focused on getting the surplus inventory on the one hand from brand partners. So when I say getting, I don't mean the physical aggregation, but I just mean creating the visibility and bringing it to end consumers. So whatever sale or whatever churn of inventory happens is what contributes to our revenue.
Right.
However, I think this is a very primary way of looking at revenue, and we as GoFig feel that we are end-to-end partners for any FMCG brand when it comes to surplus short-dated inventory management, right?
Okay.
For any brand, managing surplus short-dated inventory is a huge overhead.
Right.
It's a huge mental activity for the brands, right? Because disposal is not easy. How do you find right customers? How do I use these products for sampling and so on and so forth? So what we envision ourselves to be is this partner with FMCG brands for their entire value chain of surplus short-dated inventory. And I think that will eventually open up a lot of future revenue streams for us as a company.
Great. The next segment that I'll quickly take you to is the opportunities within the business and your company's present hiring requirements.
Sure.
So the opportunity could be answers first.
Right. So I think when I talk about opportunities, I think that a business like GoFig is very well positioned in terms of the timing. And there are a lot of macro, micro indicators which we or I as a founder have been looking at to see a huge opportunity in this space. Right? So I have lived and traveled and worked extensively in countries like Germany, USA, and Hong Kong. And what you notice in these countries is that this entire consumerism pattern or the consumer sort of wave has just gone like over the roof, and now they are sort of taking it slow. They are moving to more sustainability driven business models, right? India as a country is still maturing, and we are still sort of not yet at the peak when it comes to our consumer waves, right? There are still like big patches or chunks of population in India which do not have access to certain products, services, people who are at the bottom of the pyramid still, right? And there's still this consumer cycle happening, right? The way I look at it is in the next 3 to 5 years, this will eventually peak, it will mature, and then there will be a huge boom for sustainability-driven business models because we can't keep on consuming at the pace that we are consuming right now.
Right.
We can't keep on discarding things at the pace that we are discarding at the moment, right?
Correct.
And so which is why I think for business models like GoFig, which predominantly propagate a sustainable consumption, this is the right time to be in.
Right.
The second indicator for a business like this to be rightly placed and positioned is that look at the D2C space in India, right? It's growing by leaps and bounds, right? Just a simple example that I give every time, right? You and I, when we were growing up, Kisan Jam was probably the only brand of jam that we ever had in our kitchens and knew about, right?
Correct.
Today, even a simple category like a fruit spread or a jam has probably 25 homegrown D2C brands working in that category. And if I put together the imported brands or the brands from US and other countries that come into our country, we're talking about 50 or 60 brands in a simple category, which is jams, right? So the entire D2C landscape in India, fueled by young enterprising founders, that is also leading to the fact that, I mean, yes, a lot of products are being made, but there is always going to be surplus short-dated inventory with any FMCG brand or any D2C brand, right?
Correct,
I mean, whatever forecasting you do, but surplus short-dated inventory is a given, right? So, which is why, again, the second factor, as I said, the growth of D2C brands is something that is a big indicator for this business.
Correct.
And lastly, the fueling aspirations of the younger generation in India, right? It's a generation that even if they're growing up in villages, they are still looking out for good content, good brands on Instagram, on Facebook and other platforms. So the exposure is very heavy. The aspiration is high, but the spending power is still not there. And which is why a platform like GoFig, when it gives them the same iconic premium brands at a much lower green discounted price, I think that aspiration is something that will also fuel a concept like GoFig.
Correct.
So yeah, those are the three things which I feel definitely make us sort of rightly positioned for growth.
So when you mentioned about the short-dated FMCG products, but there are short-dated cosmetics also.
Yeah.
So how do you have any plans for accommodating that too?
Yes, absolutely. So when we started GoFig, we were focusing heavily on short-dated food and beverages because food waste as a topic has also been something which has been very close to my heart personally. I've grown up in a household where food waste used to be a big thing. So we started off with short-dated packaged foods and beverages. However, when we started talking to a lot of new age brands as well as the established brands and the big conglomerates, we realized that even short-dated cosmetics or wellness products is a huge challenge, right? I mean, they all come with an expiry date label on the bottle. And their disposal is very tricky, right? You can't just, you need special permissions to dispose of short-dated cosmetics and wellness products.
Okay.
There are certain norms and regulations that you need to follow in order to be able to dispose of such a product. So, like I said, when we talk to all of these companies, we realize that short-dated cosmetics is an equally challenging problem, as big as short-dated food and beverages, and which is why we do plan to expand our portfolio into short-dated cosmetics and wellness products as well. In fact, we've just started onboarding one of our the first few brands that do that have short-dated cosmetics currently, and would like to sort of be our green partners.
Great. So you need to, even highlight about your present hiring requirements if you could.
Sure. So I think hiring as a founder is always on the top of the agenda. So currently, in terms of hiring, we're looking for people who can grow and scale our institutional partnerships or corporate partnerships, right? So while we have our online platform that reaches out directly to consumers, we also have an offline model in which we work with corporates or institutional partners, have them onboarded as our green partner or partner in our mission for sustainability, and through them reach out to their team members, through their employees, right, through various initiatives. So we do community awareness engagements, awareness drives, and so on and so forth, right? We set up offline kiosks, we are present for pop-up events, and so on and so forth. Now, this model, through the initial sort of activities that we have done, has proven to be extremely good and promising for us, right? All of our institutional partners that we have onboarded so far, and that's close to 15 institutional partners, are extremely happy about what GoFig is doing. They're proud of the fact that they're able to support a mission like GoFig, which in turn reduces wastage of FMCG products. And so I'm definitely looking for a team member who can help and scale our institutional partnerships, who can get the connections, who can get the ball rolling and onboard as many interested partners to join hands with us.
Great.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are listening to this. Yes. So moving to the next segment that we have is the business lesson. So the most important business lesson, kissa, that you have in your journey.
This is interesting. So I'll narrate two. So March 2023, last year was when I left my corporate job. So I worked in the corporate sector for close to 12 years.
Okay.
I left my job and I was contemplating. So I had this idea of GoFig in my head, and I was slowly sort of getting started with having it implemented, right? And that was also the time when my son, who was 7 years old at that time, we had taken a trip. And on that trip, he had collected certain stones and sand and all from that country. So we'd gone to Jordan. And he got back and he just, within a day, set up a stall, put like notes, sticky notes with the pricing, came up with a hand-written flyer, which he took his friends' help to make and design, put it up, and he was like up and running with his business within a day. And I think that was my initial lesson because I was still contemplating, I'll do GoFig and I'll implement it like this and that. And I just saw that this 7-year-old just like went like this with his business within a day. He didn't overthink things. He didn't overcomplicate the entire process of like, how do I present and all. He just kind of went with the flow. And that was actually like an eye-opening moment for me. And I said, I mean, if he can do it in a day, I should definitely be able to like do it quickly. Like, let me just get it out there. And that accelerated the pace at which I implemented the idea, the pace at which I reached out to people for the initial validation of proof of concept. And within less than 100 days, we took GoFig live. So March end is when I started working on it. In July, we were already live with the website. Of course, I mean, was it the perfect launch? Probably not. I mean, it did come with its own set of, improvements and some tweaks and this and that. But then I was really proud that I was able to get a product out there to people for the initial feedback, for the initial testing within less than 100 days, right? So that was my first business lesson. Don't overthink. Do it. I mean, get things rolling. Other things will start falling into place.
So as you mentioned about GTM and, how to improvise. So the next segment is right there is a sales pitch.
Yeah.
So I would like to know your thoughts on to have a best of best sales pitch.
Hmm.
And quickly, if you could, after that, you could pitch GoFig in a nutshell.
Sure. Okay. Always talk about what is the problem statement that you are solving for in a sentence. Who are you solving it for? So who are the potential people who should be listening to your sales pitch? And how are you different, or how is your solution or proposal different from what is already happening in the market?
Okay.
If you're just able to encapsulate these core 3 basic principles in your sales pitch, and like I said, in not more than 3 to 4 sentences, I think you have gotten it. It has to be simple. I mean, I think that the more I do this, I feel like the more we are able to simplify things.
Correct.
They make more sense for people, whether it's your team, whether it's potential customers, right? So that would be my tip. Now, you put me in a spot. I need to do a sales pitch for GoFig.
Yes.
So GoFig is India's first leading platform solution for surplus short-dated packaged foods, beverages, and cosmetics, right? Most of these short-dated items, which when they get close to expiry, are either trashed and they end up in the landfills, right? Disposal of these items is a big environmental challenge, and that is what GoFig is solving for. GoFig, on the one hand, works with FMCG brands, partners with them, and promotes and aggregates their surplus short-dated inventory. And on the other side of the spectrum, we work with end consumers, directly giving them these products at green discounts as high as 75% and with complete transparency on the remaining shelf life of products. So yeah, that's GoFig in a nutshell.
Great. Thank you for the short sales pitch.
Thank you.
So moving to the next segment, which is our crystal ball, where you have to, tell us about the future of the business which you're playing in the industry. So the top opportunity and top threat you could tell us about.
Right. So like I said in the beginning, right, the opportunity is that this is really a wide space currently. And we're still in the early days of building awareness for the concept. But from my exposure to similar sustainability-driven concepts from around the world, I do know that India is not too far behind in terms of adopting such practices. It's just a matter of time and more consumer awareness and education. So there I feel that it's a vast ocean of opportunity. There's enough and more than enough surplus short-dated inventory that needs channelizing, that needs proper management to end consumers, right? So in terms of opportunity, it's like I said, it's huge. We also even looked at some of the numbers, like any startup founder does the TAM, SAM, SOM, and all, and we do believe that this is even if we capture 30% of the market with us being as early movers in the space, it's still $1 billion opportunity with just surplus short-dated FMCG products in India, right? So, yeah, that's okay. In terms of threats, I think some of the threats which could potentially come up are the norms in terms of short-dated inventory selling, right? So currently there are certain fluid rules in e-commerce कि आप इतने दिनों से कम inventory e-commerce पे बेच सकते हो क्या नहीं. But when I say fluid, they're not that that concrete yet. So there's still a gray area because again, this is a space which is very sort of open at the moment, right? So there could be potential regulatory changes or changes in certain framework which we might have to adapt to or take into our consideration as we grow. I think right now it's not a threat, but we're always mindful of it and we're always looking out for those things.
Right.
The other, I wouldn't say threat. So I think for us as first movers, we are definitely spending a lot of effort in terms of educating a customer.
Right.
And the threat could be that someone just jumps in and builds on all of the awareness. But like I said, I don't think it's a threat because competition in a space is always a good because it makes you to sort of think creatively, be more agile. So, okay, I think I would put that aside as a threat, but I think it's always something that as a founder, you keep an eye out for it. Yeah.
Thank you for the answer. So the last segment that we have is the rapid fire.
Oh, okay.
So you
just
have
like coffee with Karan. Yeah.
So I'll start with that. The first question that I have for you is a course that you could recommend to our audience.
Okay. So I regularly watch this podcast, which is the Barbershop with Shantanu, because it has varied sort of guests from diverse backgrounds.
Okay.
So that is something that I recommend to founders in their free time. Not really sure if I can recommend a course. I haven't done any recently.
No problem. Any app is your go-to app, and you can recommend if it is very insightful to the audience.
Right. For me, it's just Spotify again. I just keep it simple. जो सब एक जगह पे मिल जाता है. तो whether it's learning, whether it's entertainment. So yeah.
Any book you could recommend to the audience?
Yeah. So one book that really changed my perspective on things, and again, it's not a business oriented book, but it's this book Sapiens, The History of Mankind. I think that changed my perspective on a lot of things. And I also feel like that I as a person, I like to be sort of multi-dimensional. So these kind of perspectives from different angles help me with my thought process. So that was one book that really influenced me, and I still refer to certain sections of that book from time to time.
Okay, great. Interesting. The next question is one quality that every startup founder should possess.
Yeah. I think it's your ability to just take no as many times as it happens without letting it affect you, right? I mean, if it's a no, it's a no. It's as simple as that. But that does not mean that you are not on the right track. It just means that who you are talking to is probably not the right person, whether it's a right customer or a right investor. So just take no as happily or easily as you would take a yes. Yeah.
God. One mistake that startup founders should not make.
Yeah, being too stuck up with your initial idea, right? Because we all feel that the initial idea that we had was this eureka moment or this aha moment, and that's just great. But as startup founders, we are constantly sort of in the need to pivot, right? That's the name of the business, right?
Correct.
I don't think there has ever been an idea which has turned out the way you envisioned. So yeah, just don't be too stuck up with the idea.
Yes. One quality to spot in new hire.
Sense of ownership. I look for sense of ownership in my team members or in the new hires. I think that's very important.
Great. Thank you so much, Disha. It was lovely having conversation with you.
Thank you, Monica.